we are thrilled to be hosting David Chang here tonight. David Y. Chang is a Frost Professor of Art at Florida International University. He is also the chair of the Florida Artist Group Area 1 and is a very, very distinguished painter, educator. He has so many accolades that I'm sure he'll touch on, but for now, let's let him get started. Thank you so much, Professor.
Thank you, Karen, for your kind introduction. Good evening. And, excuse me, I thought the coffee helped with the spirit, but the cough as well. So it comes with it. I think we're artists, or those that want to become artists, as some students made it here all the way. An hour and a half drive in traffic. It took me an hour 40 minutes, but we made it. I live in Broward, so that's not a problem, but I come from work, which is down South Miami. Florida International University, where I chair the Department of Art and Art History. And I am a painter, but we're talking about any kind of artist. It doesn't have to be painting, it could be sculpture, it could be ceramics, it could be animation, photography, what have you. But being an artist is one that we all agree probably suffers from the joy and the pain of the creative process. That's who we are. And we enjoy so much, we suffer. We frustrate so much, and that's who we are. We love and hate what we do, you know? And there was an artist in the 18th century who was very well known. Chardin is the name in Paris. He was the director of the Salon in the Louvre. And when he was interviewed by Denis Diderot, who is the editor of Encyclopedia, and 18th century, and he went over to the Louvre, he said, "Monsieur Chardin, for you, lifting a brush, poof, there's a masterpiece." And he looked at Diderot and he said, "Monsieur, you could not be more mistaken about what a painter is." He said, "A painter is one that can't wait to start painting. And then, after painting a little bit, he stepped back and started hating himself." He didn't understand how he got so wrong so far into it, and he would give up, leave the studio, glass of wine. No, I don't know, I just want to say wine has anything to do with it. Come back and generate enough courage to restart, scrape out the painting again, and then he would once again give up. The next morning, before the eyes were completely open, he would take a look at the canvas again. There is hope. There is hope. He sees a very small part of the painting that has the kind of texture he was looking for. Not even the subject matter, just the texture. That was enough. That's enough. He went right back to painting, and finally, he could not complete the painting. That's what a painter is. Not one that poof, lifting a brush. So Diderot had this famous interview that has been translated into all languages. So if you Google it, you'll find it. Denis Diderot with Chardin. His name was, Chardin. Chardin. Very famous for genre paintings. Probably the most famous master in still life painting. So that's what kind of throw us into this field that we're in, and we want to live a life like that. You know, I always wanted to be an artist and grew up wanting to be, and travel and study across Europe, and thinking I would spend the rest of my life traveling all over the world, having exhibitions, signing catalogs, and I didn't realize I had to buy the flight tickets, and I didn't have money. Stumbled into teaching. I didn't know I was going to fall in love with it. And now, 32 years later, I'm still teaching. I'm teaching painting, drawing, and I love it. It's painful sometimes, I love it, but we enjoy the process, whether frustration or happiness. So that's really what, yeah, there's some images of my paintings. Some are old meaning in the 80s and 70s probably. But, so you have an idea. Oh, this is, yeah. But you can see the images, right? So,
Should I turn this off? Let's see. You can do
okay.
it.
As long as you can see. It's a little bit washed. The images are washed.
No, it's good.
It's okay. And I could attest to the fact that none of these paintings were done with a proof of a brush stroke. And some I had to scrape out several times.
Wow.
That is in Normandy, France. Lovely place. It's different with the Chopin music, is not there. It's actually in there.
Excellent to be there.
That's in Tuscany. And I should have another one. That's most recent. That's this year. A month back in the summer. Painted that in the summer in Tuscany, in Ancano, right behind where Leonardo da Vinci was born. And so it's a view, really, of Vinci from Ancano. Da Vinci was not born in Vinci. He was born in Ancano and baptized in Vinci. So the view of Vinci from Ancano, beautiful rolling hills of Tuscany, one of my favorite places in the world. But that's kind of my joy and pain as an artist. But as I say, pain or frustration, it is still a joy. It is a joy. When you keep doing it for over 30 years, I still love it. So I have to say that. What does it take to be an artist? How many people paint here? Any sculptors? Any printmakers? Ceramics? Animation? Illustration? Mostly painters. Perfect. So as a student, you learn sculpture, painting, printmaking, all aspects. And you grow into a little bit more. And also, in time, you feel like one particular medium will sort of express yourself better. And you keep doing that for a while. Like Chang with a still life, and then there was a period of time you did portraits, and nothing but portraits, and actually died painting portraits. He was challenged by this Italian artist, and said, "Wow, a genre master. Wonder if you can make portraits like real artists." Like a real artist, I'm the director of the Louvre. What are you talking about? He painted him way into his late age, about 80 slow painting. And he literally was living in the Louvre. Because when you reach a certain level, you are given an apartment in the Louvre because you're in charge of the salon, the exhibition. So that's a pretty impressive title. I think some of my students might know that what does it take to be a practicing artist, to live a life as an artist? I call it the 3 Ps, PPP. Passion, patience, perseverance. Excellent. So passion, patience, perseverance. Not everybody can have that. Everybody could potentially have passion. I love it. What does that lead us to? Right? To enjoy the process when I have time. When inspiration strikes. Right? And they say, well, when do you create? When inspiration strikes. I recommend to my students, this book is called The War of Art. The author is Stephen Pressfield. If you haven't read it, I strongly recommend it. The book is written for artists. And it's a New York Times bestseller. And he says, when he talks about when we create, and he says, my friend, inspiration strikes at 9 every morning. Get it and paint. If you can do that, you can be a professional. He states that before becoming a professional, he calls it turning pro. You first have to deal with resistance. Because resistance has all these excuses right around us, we just very easily pick. Oh, my cousin's visiting from Georgia, I can't paint today, right? Oh, there's that game. You know, I have to go to this concert. I can't miss this concert. I have to go to, this particular concert. You know, that's Andrea Bocelli. You can't miss that. Come on. You know, painting, put it on the side a little bit. Keep making excuses. So that's called resistance. So if you could conquer resistance, then you're ready to turn pro. Turning pro is a discipline. It is not love. Passion is love. Passion is the key to being an amateur. Because amateur, the word coming from Latin, amore, love, amateur, right? It gives you the basis, but if you don't have patience to keep doing it, you're not going to be a pro. You're not going to be a practicing artist. And if you can't continue, sustain that practice, perseverance, it's very difficult to be a practicing artist. It's easy to think you like art, you love art, that people love you, and all of that. That's not enough. So the book, War of Art, by Stephen Pressfield. He's a prolific writer. And the book was forwarded by a Pulitzer Award winner by the name of Robert McKee, award-winning writer, also inspirational writing for creativity and all that. But he said, my friend Stephen Pressfield, the son of God, he said, I consider myself the Olympic record holder of procrastination. I procrastinate thinking about procrastination. And this friend of mine gave me a deadline. How dare he? And then otherwise he cannot publish the book. He needs the forward. And I promised him. So now I have to deliver. And he said, all along, he said, even though we disagree, because Pressfield believes that when the human condition in creativity reaches a certain level, it's an out-of-body experience. It's what we call aha, right? It's that awakening. It's the divine intervention, in his opinion. Because, well, if you start reading, if you Google his name, a lot of Greek and Roman things to the mythology and all this celestial, intervention and everything. But Robert McKee believed, however, that true creativity comes from within. It's a human awakening, not outside. He said, having said that, when my friend Stephen Pressfield puts his fingers onto his keyboard, writing the chapters of his book, there's absolutely no doubt the hands of the muse were all over him. That's how he finished writing his foreword. And of course, you can't stop now. You just have to read the rest of it. You'll cry, you'll laugh. And it's a small book, but it's a book created for artists. And how do we sustain an artistic life? I recommend that. So, passion, patience, perseverance. PPP. Very important. Now, we'll say, what does it mean by professional practicing artists? I do have a daytime job. Who is it to say art cannot be created at night? There are plenty of people that work only nights. So what's their nighttime job, right? So a lot of artists are daytime. Of course, preferably you can paint in natural light. Hopefully skylight. We don't have a lot because in Florida, it's going to leak. So north light, sometimes if your artistic drive is so strong, you might just have to live your life around supporting the goal that you want to become. And I remember giving a lecture in Chicago one year, and I was talking about, how north light affects the studio, consistent color-corrected lighting coming in without the sun. Because if you're facing west, forget it. South Florida, right? Facing east, you can't paint in the morning because the sun comes in. All of those problems. Yeah, but sir, one lady raised her hand and said, all my windows are facing east, what do I do? I said, well, you just have to be an afternoon painter, But I'm most alert in the morning. Well, you probably have to move, I said. Everybody moved. Is it worth moving? Is being a painter important enough for you to move? Maybe it is. You see, that's a question. And if you're willing to persevere that way, just give up your comfortable east-facing apartment or townhouse or house or studio and get yourself one that has the largest room facing north. So that I think is important. It's almost, I call it a promise that you make to yourself. I call it promise, Promise. You need to be first, be productive. P. And you need to become resourceful. R. And you must be organized. O. You need to be mindful, especially when your artwork is rejected by exhibitions. I would never, ever, please remind me never to submit work to that stupid gallery. Galleries, that's stupid. We get rejected. Students ask that question, do you ever get rejected? All the time. Not all the time, but a lot of times. It's okay. Think of this. All these movie stars, Robert De Niro, whoever you would think would be the perfect position. A lot of other famous actors auditioned too. Only one got it. All the rest, are they all losers? No. It's part of the process. You need to be mindful. The fact that failure is the mother of success is easy to understand when it's not you. Right? When it's you, darn it, I paid $50 for this thing and they rejected me. Can I get a refund? No. So in that case, the gallery becomes stupid. The museum becomes, oh, never ever. And sometimes you go visit that exhibition, you couldn't just control staying at home. You will go and find out when your friends got in. And you know you're better. Now what do we do? Be mindful. There has to be a reason. You cannot control what the judge picks. Every judge is different. It's almost like election. You never know, right? You have to admit the fact that Judges carry with them opinions. It's completely normal. It's okay. But check the basics. Have you submitted a portrait to a landscape exhibition? Or the other way around? Have you submitted an abstract painting to a representational exhibition? You see, you might. So, who needs to be more mindful? All right, be mindful. And also, we need to be inspired all the time. All the time. How do you get inspired? We can read Stephen Pressfield and get inspired. You can watch a movie, you can get inspired. You can see a light show, you can get inspired. And we even get inspired driving home and realize what a beautiful sunset it is. We are. Other people say, come on, you get home, right? Move, this traffic gets me stuck in here, and then you're going to, what a beautiful sunset. What a beautiful, you know, you ask your friend, if you have a friend, and go, what do you have? Is it iPhone 10 or iPhone 8? Do you have a good camera? Take that picture, I want to paint it, you know? We get carried away with these things. We're the weird people. We're the weird people. Normal people say, come on, let's go. It's only a table. What are you looking at? The negative space wrapping around. The light coming from behind. Look at the shadow coming. We're weird. We're just not normal people. We are exceptional, artistically sensitive people. We get very sensitive when we do ourselves. We're the worst critic. That's why we suffer from the joy and pain in the creative process. Is painting easy? Is drawing easy? No. It's never easy. It's easy to get started, but it's also easy to get very angry, right? To give up, right? And then you turn around, that's what it is. So being inspired could be reading a book, or going to a show, or coming to the Frank, you know, for a little art talk. Anything could get us excited because we're conditioned to do that. Not everybody can be conditioned to do that. Oh, come on, let's hear about this strange vocabulary of words. Chiaroscuro, what do you call it? Chiaroscuro? Strange words. Why do we have to think about those things, right? We do. Chiaroscuro is a big deal. It's deep, right? And it's all these things. And the next is we must be focused. It's called Promise. We must be selective. And you say, oh, I have expertise in many things. Yes, but do one thing at a time. Well, I paint, I draw, I do this, I make mixed media, I do this, I do hanging pieces, I do mobile, all those things. No, do one thing at a time. Be selective, you have to. You never ever want to present yourself as an artistic handyman that fixes everything. Tell me, if you ever have anything done in your house or studio, you hire a tile person coming in, would you prefer the estimate person who coming to show you different tile layout, or it is to say, you know, they might do bird cages and fans as well? Multi-talent, which one are you more likely to pick? The tile specialist. You need to be a specialist in many things, but one thing at a time. You present yourself one direction at a time. If you're auditioning for a portrait, don't show them still life. Okay? Well, you have it ready, but don't put them together. It's like, oh, I have to show. That's what we say, put your best foot forward. You show to the target, very important. In business, if you don't present yourself correctly, you'll never get the job. You can't do, by the way, I do this, well, very nice. Nice meeting you, bye. And then you go, oh, what did I do wrong? Because you put yourself forth as a handyman. Okay, you're not, you're an expert. You're an expert in this and that too, but you present one at a time. Very important to be selective. Very important. And always stay engaged. The last letter, E. You always want to be engaged. P-R-O-M-I-S-E, the promise. If you can make yourself that promise, now, with the 3 Ps, nothing can stop you. Nothing. Decades of things and trouble, they can't stop you because you have to breathe artistically. There's nothing can stop you. If you're alive, you want to be involved with art. That's what my advice is. So, the artistic process goes through this conceptualization, composition, creation, the critique process, and completion. Right? I call them the 5 Cs. I'm sorry, the problem is when you're a professor, you tend to use simplified thing. 3 Ps, 5 Cs, right? First C is concept. Concept is a visual idea. You must have a visual idea. Do you want to introduce a light coming in, or you wanted to create the sunset or something? It's a visual idea. But then you need to compose. Composition, second C. You need to compose. You need to make a visual plan so that your sunset can be captured in the most exciting way that you want to capture it. Then the next C is to create. That's difficult. That's when you suffer the joy and pain, right? Because that's when we forget eating. We forget the time. Your family is calling, come on, the soup is getting cold. And you can be there in a minute. 2 hours later, you're still struggling. You're still doing it, right? Because you're so emotional. You become so right-brained. Oh, people say, yes, in early 1980s. Yeah, when I was in grad school. There was a talk, Betty Edwards, you probably have heard of, very famous author of the book is called Drawing from the Right Side of the Brain. And she identified the brain hemispheres, the right brain, the left brain, right? Left brain people always keep a list of things they do, super organized, and final check off is have a sweet dream, right? We creative, spatially oriented, right brain artists, sometimes we make lists of things we need to do too, we just can't find them. You know, so left brain, right brain. So that is important. When you do the creation, the 3rd C, you get so involved. It's like you're holding the baby so tight, you end up suffocating the baby. It's like, I love it. Then you say, oh, I ruined the whole painting because I spent 2 hours on that leaf. But the flower is now gone. You see? You need the left brain in there. The left brain is critique. You need to have a critical eye. And come back to your first C, the visual idea. What is it that you want? Do you want to do? Is it doing what you want it to do? Right? Then you look at through critique. Critique requires left brain. Logic. Right? You need the process. Our speech is left brain hemisphere. Otherwise we can't talk. All successful artists in the history, they're successful because they are both left and right engaged, very functional in that. You cannot say, if I'm so right-brained and I say, is it this week the lecture or next week? Then you have to Google it. You see what I'm saying? And that's very important. Monet is very left-brain, also very right-brain. Rembrandt, very right-brain, also very left-brain, but more right than left. That's why he went bankrupt. The most successful painter of both hemisphere, I think, would be Peter Paul Rubens. Great master, undeniable, right? He was also a great organizer, a workshop runner. He had his workshop, and he had his apprentice. He trained 14-year-olds, and one of those in particular came in as, Mr. Rubens, I'd like to study with you. Oh, show me some drawings. Are you willing to grab paint, pigment, and sweep the floor? anything. 14-year-old did everything. 4 years later, he became his own master, 18 years of age. His name? Anthony Van Dyke. And when you heard, oh, Van Dyke, the great Van Dyke. Yeah. Started with Rubens. How did he start? Because Rubens hired him to prepare the ground, do the background of painting, stretch canvas, and do all these things, right? And run a successful workshop. Otherwise, how could you ever finish 2,000 paintings? Because his workshop was doing it. We hired as many as 25 assistants doing that. He categorized them into 3 different types of painting. One is autograph, meaning he painted everything himself. Okay? The other is collaborated. He outsourced. Today we use the word outsource. Well, he could paint animals, landscapes, still life, and portraits equally well. But he didn't have the time. In those days, they had artists that were so good at still life, he would hire that artist. You paint the still life in my piece. I paint Madonna. You paint landscape. You paint snakes. Yeah, because this is Medusa. You paint the snakes. I paint the eyes and nose and everything. Outsource everything, and he calls this collaborated. And he put it on paper. This is a collaborated piece. So the credits are due to several artists. And the third category, lastly, is called supervised. He did the oil sketch. He did the sketch about this big. Concept pretty detailed, and the assistants will grid it, enlarge them, making it 50 times as big, 20 feet high, 30 feet wide, but it's identical proportion. How do they do it? Because the oil study was done on board, on wood. Then, little nails are hammered into the sides, about an inch space all around. Silk thread, dark colors, dark brown, black, going across, grading the oil study, and the students come. 1 inch means 1 foot. You see what I'm saying? And then you're gridding everything, and they cast everything bound and they trace the image of large parts of the painting, the mural, and it's called cartoon. Cartoon here means part of the enlargement. And they will make holes along the lines of the cartoon. Then they get cheesecloth. And they put chalk or charcoal and wrap it up, and they knock it onto the wall or canvas or board. This is called the pouncing. They transfer the same image enlarged. Then they'll draw that out. They'll do the visai, which means a monochromatic grayscale background. The Rubens comes in. Okay, paint the background. I'll be back tomorrow to deal with the faces. Right? They come back. Tomorrow is it. Anthony, you do the face. Okay, Jordan, you do the hands. You do, and then they're all trained by him. And he did. And he didn't touch the large canvas at all. This was called supervised. And he listed supervised painting as less expensive. And it's declared at the beginning. Otherwise, it would be dishonest. Right? We see some of that too, sometimes. Unfortunately, when you're so successful, is this autographed by him? You're right? So that's sometimes we look at masterpieces, we're so impressed because it's so-and-so's. We neglect to look at why this piece is important. We just, oh, it's Monet, of course. It's Monet. Monet's done some bad pieces too, but it's Monet. Right? So that's what we deal with. So PPP, promise, the 5 C's, I have a few more, but I'm not going to throw all of that out. I think if you teach over 30 years, you're trying to wrap up what makes it easier for art learners to capture the idea. I think as simple as you can, just as simple as ABC, they get the idea. And that's really what it takes to become a constant practice artist, practicing artist takes that much sometimes. I'll leave the floor for some questions, because otherwise I'll be standing here 2 hours and I can't even think about it. See, I'm right-brained when I start talking more, you see. I might embrace it so much, I suffocate my own topic. All right, so I like to leave some room for questions so I could respond. Do you have any questions?
I have one, and I just started at the frame, with the free at the frame stuff. I have like zero background. I'm just gonna let you know straight out, zero background. But I'm curious because this is about making a living as an artist. Not necessarily you, but obviously teaching provides your salary. Do you think people can really make a living just as an artist without that?
I believe so, but then you have to do it realistically. I also have children, which I'm supporting in college. And I do believe when you are so productive and you're so engaged in the field, and there is continuous income to support you, then it is possible. I know a lot of people that are making a living from being artists, but it's not easy. We pick a job. We pick a daytime job and call it hobby.
Right.
See what I'm saying? We do our serious stuff at night, right? At least we have 2 days a week to do it. Not bad, Saturday and Sunday. And then sometimes I have to do that too. And then we pick a job as a hobby during the day, so I have some basic income. We might work in the library, we might do something, that's okay. That's okay too. Teaching, college teaching was probably 2 afternoons a week. That's about it. The rest you're in the studio. Or you probably travel to Italy or France to paint. It's not always that easy. So you have to. There's nothing wrong to have a job. But don't just get 2 jobs or 3 jobs, because then you really cannot perform what you want to do. So you need to give yourself time. Time is of essence. You must have time, otherwise nothing can be created. You can talk about it. That makes you feel better. But whatever you create will ultimately make you feel much better. It'll make you a happier person. We could all have work to do, family to raise, be proud of your child winning this Principals Award, we'd stick it on our car, and I've done this too. And then it comes college. How much was the tuition again? Reality hits, right? And my son's going to private school, so, and not just private, Ivy League. I said, what's the, I might as well just commit suicide, And, well, when you get a scholarship, you really can't say no. But what you need to give yourself is a sustainable schedule. Almost like becoming religious to art. Sustainable schedule means, can you make a regular schedule to create? Oh, that would be hard. I usually don't create until I put the kids to bed, clean the kitchen, wash the dishes, and make sure I know what I'm going to do tomorrow. By then it's 10:30. Even though I don't watch soap opera, I don't have much time. You see? And then you're going to say, how many people have family here? You're not just living alone and creating, right? When you have family, how much time do you think your family needs you? All the time. All the time. All the time.
All the
But do
time.
you have all the time?
Nope.
You don't. So it's not practical. You cannot be there all the time. But they want you all the time. So should I lie? Just tell them, I work a little longer today. And no, that's not right. Right? You can't do that. But it's not practical. Let's not do that, right? But how do we make this artistic experience a regular schedule? First of all, you can no longer make excuses out of a cousin visiting from Georgia. That's not going to happen, right? You're going to start making excuses because you're creating art. You say, hey, how about this concert? Oh, that sounds great, but sorry, have an appointment to my studio, you know? I have a date, you know? The date is with my sketchbook, my canvas, my drawing paper, okay? My pottery. I have a date. That's it. I almost said that I did it. I met my wife. I said, you think you can handle a mistress? What? I have never seen the entire iris in her eye. Because usually you don't look at people like this when you see, unless you're shortchanged in the supermarket. I gave you a 20 to see the entire iris. And I said, what did you say? Mistress? Yeah. It's called art. I will forever have it. If you allow that, we'll have a happy life together. And Andrea Bocelli, well known singer, the blind Italian singer. Great talent, right? And you think, oh, he can't see anything. He can see through his music. And here's a song. It's called Vivo Belle. Vivo Belle lived for her. All American audience when it came. So Detroit, concert hall, everybody said, yeah, it's the girlfriend, boyfriend thing, right? And then there was a duet. There's a duet that he sings one part, the girl sings the other. And the girl sings, I live for her. And he said, I live for her. Oh, I get it. You know? She is, you know what I'm talking about? And the American audience will feel it immediately, even before you could explain anything. But little did they know, they both could live and love her. La musica, the music. That's the mistress. Right? So that's the mistress. You need to have that. So you need to be completely understood by your family. But how much time? How much time? Where do you find time? You brush teeth? Yeah. I eat. I gotta make food for my kids. I gotta prepare this. You know, accidents happen and I just have to deal with it. I don't have time, but you do. Start with twice a week. Doesn't matter which day. You have to firm it up. Half an hour. I can't do anything in half an hour. What can you do in half an hour? You need to be alone for half an hour. To be with your companion. The art. Okay? You just can't see your kids. You love them to death. You kiss them. You go to bed and everything, but you're alone, all alone, for half an hour. You'll never know how much you can do in half an hour. All you need to do is sit down and plan what I want to do. Can we do that? We can spend a half an hour and think what we want to do. But half an hour is up, because my iPhone's reminding me already. Do it Thursday night. Another half hour. Start with 2 half hours a week. Pretty soon, you realize half an hour is not enough. But you have to bring your family in sometimes. Not easy. Not easy. Okay? We love it. Ronnie here goes to London and spends hours in the National Gallery there, or the British Museum, or the Tate. Okay? You just can't come out. You just love it. You never get bored. Here's a Rembrandt, the real one. You never get bored, right? But if you're in New York with your family, that's not fair. You're going to take them to the Met, and you get, wait, and I said, come on, it's been an hour. We got to, you know, kids are hungry, you know. Go, you know, it's not fair. You have to plan it. Involve the family, but plan it, and you have to cut some of your pleasures and go, yeah, we'll look at it for 40 minutes. Some coffee and dessert and things, you know. But then you have to walk, right? Just had a New York cheesecake. Had to walk, you know. That's how I involve my family. We travel together, and little kids grown now, of course, in college, right? But back then, we were doing like national galleries. Wait, we're leaving already? No, we can come back and let's go get some cheesecake. Cheesecake, you know. And so can we see the weapons department, the armors? Sure, we do that. And they said, I want to see Another piece, when's the homework? Can we go back to that? Oh, I don't know, ask your mom. When's the homework? The breathing up in the hour, see it again, okay, we'll go back. And you tell me when you want to leave. They end up spending 3 hours in the museum. Not my fault. Not my fault, because the family loves it. Okay? And then, of course, next time, when we go to Philadelphia, we're going to go see a museum. Do you want to? Of course. So you roll into it. It's very important to consider your environment, consider your family. Otherwise, you can't do it alone. And of course, some of us live alone and forget it. I can do whatever I want. But that's really not going to last too long. Right? Barbara Streisand sings, people who need people. Right? It doesn't last too long, so it counts. Right? The music goes on that. If you live life associating with other people, you need to consider that. That's coming along with kids in college, difficult. Sometimes you feel like, I really don't have time to eat that much time with you guys. I love you to death. Can I go back to my studio? I never ever say that. I never ever say that. But you still need to go to the studio, but it needs to be an understanding. It takes time to massage that schedule, but you start very little. You start with sort of something that's actionable. And not something, okay, I'm going to take Saturday off. I'm just going to create some masterpiece on Saturday. It's not going to happen. Right? And you say, but I didn't know Michael was hitting the storm. All these things. You didn't plan that, but don't ever do that. Just give yourself a reasonable amount of time. Even art classes are never all day. Well, some of them. But usually, 3 hours, 2 hours. But if you start a sustainable schedule, you can actually become what you want to become as a practicing artist. But remember, you have a hobby. It's got a job. Okay? That's okay to have a job and be a real artist. It is okay. I have a job too. Right? I teach kids from this to 35. Right? It's okay. It's okay to do that. So it's not like you have to do it all day long, every single day. You start. 30 minutes will turn you into an artist. But don't give up. Passion, patience, perseverance. Awesome.
In the working and living, the part that I find the artist is kind of like where you put your value for your own things. And I was just wondering what you thought about that.
Where you put your value.
Yeah, to make your money.
Right. It's important to make money.
You mean in terms of the artwork? Are you asking like whether you sacrifice your artwork to make it more commercial?
No,
Is that what you're asking?
the artwork itself.
How do you price
How do you
Oh,
How do you price it? How do you establish? How do you establish the value of your own work?
Yeah.
I'm sure you have people ask you, do you sell your work? Yeah, sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Usually we get sometimes. Sure, but how much is it? I don't know. Can I get back to you? Do you have an email address? Right? So we do that. You must look into that. Establish a value. I teach a course, a graduate course is called Portfolio Marketing. Not this year or not, because I'm spending more time in the newly founded Academy of Figurative Art, which I'm doing with those of you that are going to be in the figure painting class starting next week. So, and graduating thesis students from the MFA program and all that gets in the way. But I teach a course, it's portfolio development and marketing. Part of the marketing is to price your artwork, to find out where you are. We don't know where we are. How much should I price your work? Your friends are going to say, how do I know? You know. It's your baby, right? My baby's worth $1 million. That's never one apart. Okay, think of it this way. Do you rather that your baby grow up, be a very successful person in Chicago, San Francisco, Orlando, what have you? Oh, it is 35 years old, still staying home. Mommy, can you scramble some eggs for me? What do you prefer? You prefer that they're successful, right? It's okay. I had a difficult time early on. You have to part where you put your heart and soul into. You suffered all the joy and pain to create that piece. Somebody wants to buy it. This is like marrying off my daughter. I'm not going to let that go. There's no way, you know? But then they go. There you go. You have to realize the fact it's far better to share your talent, your artwork, with the public, with other people, than it is hanging on your own wall and figuring out, do I have enough money to buy paint? You have to think of money, but the money starts with getting organized. Remember the promise I was talking about, you must be organized. That's pricing is part of it. How do you price your work? You need to look at pragmatic pricing. How much does it cost for you to create it? You never think of it. But then, oh, gee, just blink of eye, I spent $150 already. And didn't have everything, you know, I have to go back to my closet to whatever, you know, go back and it's still not enough money, you know, to buy everything I wanted to have. And there is cost. How do I average? I don't know how much paint goes into one painting, right? You can. How much in time? You know, when you look back, that's when you do tax, you find out, wow, I can paint that much for gasoline? I didn't know. I bought a hybrid. I didn't know how much I was going to save until I did tax last year. I was like, wow, what a saving, you know? You don't know. You look back, meaning you have to keep record. You start by keeping a good record. Whenever you buy paint, you do buy paint, I know that. Right?
Yeah.
You don't have that many sponsors who say, Razi, I've got a bag of paint, would you like it? You know, when I was a kid, a poor art student in Europe, my professor would say, oh, we have some cadmium paints half used, would you like to? Cadmium? Is that the one that's $37 each? You know, even if there's a little leftover, cadmium yellow, like titanium white, very cheap, you know. Right, ivory black, very cheap, Mars black, not expensive, because it's iron oxide. But then you have certain colors, you want them, they cost money. Keep a record of your expense, okay? And then start small, and looking back, you need some time to look back and to see, this allows me to paint. Those of you that are taking class is a good way to do it. I mean, how much paint did you get for the class you took with me, for example? Did it last the whole class? Or you have some left over, some it's almost gone?
Yeah, no.
If you take another class like that, would it sustain? Maybe not, right? But how many paintings have you done out of that? You say, yeah, I did 7. In that class, another 7, most 8, 15 out of this. So $250 divided by 15, this is how much. So that goes into pragmatic pricing of that piece. Then, of course, you have your reputation and all that, which you don't want to think about first, because you want to start the sale, right? Just so, well, I'm working on a PhD in artistic discovery, so I got to charge more, because I pay tuition. Can we put tuition into the painting? Maybe not. But you can associate the time you spent. So start tracking that. There is a form I use, I don't have it here, is how there are like 10 items that you look at. Do you take photographs? Do you print them out? It all costs money. And is your studio space, whether you call it a studio, a corner of your house, part of the kitchen, or whatever, is it air conditioned? If it is, do you pay electricity? Or is it your mom's paying for it? You pay electricity, I think, right? And electricity is not getting cheap. Do you use water? Water is not getting cheaper, it's getting more expensive, right? Does it have a roof? Does the roof sometimes get damaged by a hurricane? Or might have done something to my roof? Yeah, $12,000 fix, insurance, pay back and forth, $9,000, but I have to cover the $3,000. So all of that, what's your monthly electricity? What's your professional space? That is, you need to become a professional. And you're that serious, you should consider that. That is, you rent an apartment, or you're living in your parents' house, you don't pay them, or you contribute to it. It all counts. So you have to go with the tax. So you can't just say, I'm an artist. You're going to say, well, my studio is a spare bedroom. For sometimes my cousin from Georgia visits, sleeps there. Can that be my studio? Yes. How often does that cousin visit? You can. But you can't call your bedroom a studio. You can paint in there, you can paint anywhere, but you can't call it a studio. And that's kind of like 20% of my total space. All right, electricity divided by 20%. And of course, 20% comes from your artwork, comes from that, and you pay. You charge. And you recover your cost. And it adds up. Then you realize you cannot sell anything lower than $400 or $250 because that's already spent. Nobody's reimbursing you. Nobody. Right? You're just pleasing your passion and you're spending a lot of money. Okay? Water, electricity, all of that. Those are pragmatic. You have to write it down and keep receipts. Whether electronic, email it out, keep receipts. And get a box, throw them all in one box. It's my art purchase. And better by month. I sometimes have envelopes. 12 envelopes, that's all you need. Very cheap. Get 12 envelopes, January, February, 12 months. Some months you have only 2 receipts, other months you have a whole stack. Put them. And you go into gallery, because you want to get inspired. Put that in there. You put all of that in there and started to recover that. That's a good start. Then, that has nothing to do with your artistic time. You haven't charged anything. If you spend $200 creating a painting, you sell it for $200, you lost everything. You see what I'm saying? So in other words, if you work for a kindergarten, you get paid $12 an hour, that's at least a payment. You don't have any payment. So what do you want to start charging? What's a reasonable? What makes you willing to work? Is it $10, $15, $25 when you tutor other people? What do you charge? Then you begin to know if it takes me 10 hours to finish a painting. Say if I'm charging $20 an hour, reasonable because my training and all that, 20 times 10 hours, how much is that? That's another $200. So I spent this much plus this, you have a basic idea. But what if I frame my work? How do I charge that? You charge whatever the frame is cost plus your effort getting it framed. But if the frame is $150, you cannot charge $300. Somebody might not buy your work. You charge $150. Because without the frame, that's like naked art. People sometimes don't buy it, right? Because they want to buy something that looks nice. When you have a nice frame, it just looks nice. People can't explain why, but they just want it, okay? And you spend $150 framing it. If you add it to the price of your artwork, it's not there. Don't ever have framed it. Just frame and separate. This is what you spend, $150. You can add $20 at leg fee or whatever. $170 is the frame cost. If somebody wants a painting without a frame, give them a painting, keep it framed. So you want to use paintings of more regular sizes, and not like a 13 by 19 and a half. No, 12 by 16, 16 by 20, like something that's easy to find, not expensive frames. Okay? And then whatever the frame costs, you can cut it very easily. But don't price them together with your art. Frame is not your art. Your art is your art. Now, having said that, Michelangelo made his own frame. The Holy Family in Uffizi Gallery in Florence. You marvel at his painting and his gorgeous sculptural frame. That itself is a piece of artwork. That's an exception. That's very rare. That's Michelangelo, you know, it's different, right? So, but all the rest, you have to buy a frame. You don't have a frame, hey, would you like some frames? You know, no. You have to go to a framer, and every time you go, You have anything less expensive, right? If you start thinking like that, whatever the cost is, you list it. You tell them the frame costs this much. If you don't like the frame, they 9 out of 10 times they buy the frame as well. Because they like the way it looks with the frame. Because your eye is better than mine. You pick the right frame. But then you separate it, people think, oh, it's not that bad. The painting is only $425 plus $175 frame, the total. Well, not that bad. If you charge it together, it's, oh, that's an expensive painting. You see what I'm saying? Very important. Very important.
I have a question regarding if you have any advice for other professionals around the arts that are not the artists. For example, the curators, consultants, people who support the artist community, and when you want to be involved in the community but you're not enough. But you want to be part of the
Artistic community, but not an artist. Yeah. Curators are part of the art community, but they're not artists. It's an art practice, curatorial practice, but it's not an artist. Museum director is not an artist, but it's an art museum. And there are curators that are artists. And Taran, for example, is an artist. She has an MFA in painting. She's a painter, but she's also a director. So that's different. Most directors are more art historians and more curatorial than artistic practice. But in that case, yeah, she sets aside 2 days to do artwork, Saturday and Sunday. So it's huh?
Day job and night job.
Day job and night job. Day job is a hobby, night job is an artistic life. You see, you will never retire from your life. You retire from your job. Someday I'll retire from teaching, it's a job. But I'll never ever retire from art. You see, because art is life. The job is necessary to sustain the lifestyle.
I can't believe you brought the framing. So I picked up a whole bunch of my pieces today that I had framed because I'm going to be in the show coming up. And I spoke to the curator about that because she was helping me decide from the cost of the framing and then what my pieces actually I'm going to charge in each piece. So that became an entire discussion. And it was a learning experience for me. I have been in other shows, but this was something where I really had to get the frames because some of the pieces are very, very small. So as far as what you were just discussing, it was almost identical to the conversation that I had, which is just so
But
funny.
who pays for the frame? You do or the gallery?
No, the way that she explained to me was the gallery isn't paying for it, but they take 50%.
Right.
But,
It's
which is standard.
Mhm.
But what she said was that they will take into account how much I paid for the actual frame, and they won't, in other words,
So they do the 50% on your
on
artwork
my artwork, but not
plus the frame.
plus the frame, correct?
Not bad.
Yeah,
That's not bad. And are they asking you for a bottom line price?
no,
Okay, don't ever do bottom line.
no, she said that was
So
up to me.
50% is fair.
Yeah, no, it is, it is.
More than 50% is not fair, international standard. So 50% if, your art is sold, let's say it's marked $400. If it's sold $300, you get to keep 50%. If it's sold $600, you get to keep 50%. Never say, well, my bottom line is $350. They said, okay, then you sell it for $3,000, you get $350. You see what I'm saying? Always go by percentage, which is the only fair way to do. And if they're willing to consider the additional cost of your frame, that's a good scenario.
Yeah,
Agree to it, that's a good scenario. Otherwise, and also, they could then say the frame is outside, and I'm sure you're willing to sell the painting without the frame.
well, she said I could offer that,
Yeah,
but
but people will buy the frame every single time anyway.
I'm telling you they would because it was professionally framed, so
Exactly.
I can't imagine somebody going, oh yeah, let me just have
But the fact that you're saying the frame is in addition to the artwork, then you're being honest, people think you're not just charging too much or overcharge. And there was another issue of how many hours did you spend creating it? The hardest question to answer. How many hours? And then you think 10? Oh, so you're charging like $150 an hour? My dentists do that. You see what I'm saying? You get, but then of course you can't be rude either. How about 20 years of study? You don't need to do that. But the time of conceptualization is important, not an actual painting time. You need to add that in order to be realistic. You don't just sit down and paint within 1 minute. You sit down, you prepare. Sometimes you take hours preparing. By the time you're ready to paint, you're already 2 hours in. You see what I'm saying? That is, of course, you massage your schedule until the half hour becomes 3 hours, and you can paint. It's preferable if you can have the setup all the time, not if you have 3 cats and 2 dogs, and they all want to help. They come in. Like my dog stands up taller than me, and they come in here and I say, you want to help? No, you have to have your own space. Otherwise, you just have to take down, which takes a lot of time. Put away things and put it. It's ideal. You have to create a space that you don't have to take down every time. If the family allows you to do that, do that. And start there. When you start bringing money and take the kids to Disney World, all from the paintings you sell, nobody complains. Nobody complains. I've done so. I took the kids to Philadelphia and Washington, D.C. on the sale of a painting. And they were all very happy. I paid for the hotel, paid for all the popcorns, watching TV at night, and the cheesecake. Okay? And they got to see Winslow Homer. So that all of that is. But you have to plan. If you don't plan, it's never going to happen. It's not like when inspiration strikes. Remember, you have to plan it, and reasonable enough so you can do it. It's doable. Yeah, and I think, there's a lot of different aspects of the marketing, but you have to market your work. It's survival. And I think I've talked too much. Time is going.
No, if there's some more questions, we can keep going.
I understand you studied in Italy. You studied in Italy?
No, I studied in France,
In
but I
France.
painted in Italy too. Yeah.
Okay.
I
What you
studied.
said in Italy?
Well, I go to Italy. I just paint. I just came back. I go every year. I go every year to paint. I teach a course there too, and I used to teach in France too. I studied in France, in Paris. In a school called
And how do you
Beaux-Arts.
feel? It's different. I mean, different questions. I have many questions. Probably some of them I'll have to do in private if you're okay with it.
Yeah. But I do love Italy.
Okay. I
Very
studied
much.
in Italy.
Yeah, I did not study in Italy. Many friends. In fact, I was sitting at lunch with my Italian friend yesterday, and her name is Laura from Tuscany. So we were talking about scenery in Tuscany, and she was very emotional about the scenes and everything, but she's a mathematician. But it's okay. We had artistic interest in common. But no, I study in a way because I go every year, and I spend time in Tuscany Hills, every single year. But it's not like study in school, because I study in school in France. It's a little bit different. The art history was taken in the Louvre Museum. That's study. That's taking courses, so that's a little bit different. But yeah, France, Italy, I visited every year. So just,
Okay. And how do you feel about mentoring? It's a different question.
Mentoring is very important. If there's no mentoring, teaching fails. Mentoring allows for learning, because sometimes you teach with passion, people just don't learn. I prepared this for 2 days, but they don't understand what Van Gogh went through, and I'm crying, they still don't understand it. But then, because there's no mentoring. Mentoring means you're gauging the learning style and perspective of the person you mentor. The mentee is in the picture. Mentoring is not, I teach you, you take notes, like high school class, and you failed the class, you failed. Too bad. I taught you. That's why you cannot be a valedictorian, you know? You didn't take, no. That's teaching, but that's not good teaching. Good teaching has to come with mentoring. Throughout the history of art, sculpture, painting, all teachers were mentors. Leonardo da Vinci would have never become Leonardo da Vinci if his teacher didn't mentor. Mentor is a relationship. Teaching is one way. Mentor, both ways. And mentoring has to be part of teaching. Teaching has to concern learning. If learning does not occur, it's like selling without concerning buying. You can sell whatever you want to sell. Nobody buys. You fail. If you teach, nobody learns. You fail. But with mentoring, you can never fail. Mentoring never fails. Mother never fails. That's a mentorship. Lifetime, if you have kids. You're a mother, you mentor your kid. You don't teach. Sit down. You don't teach. Sometimes you have to do discipline. You don't get this in the program, you mother or parent, it's a mentorship. Because you hear feedback, you see the reaction. Teaching, sometimes I don't see these kids anymore. I taught you guys. If you failed the test, too bad. You see what I'm saying? Good teaching has to have mentoring in it. And if I get to choose mentorship or teaching, I will go with mentorship. You know, that's why in art we always say, this is my mentor.
Do you mentor? Do you mentor?
I mentor because graduate students are more of a mentoring process because we have a lot of graduate students. Undergraduate students deals with a lot of lectures. Lectures are teaching. Mentoring has feedback both ways. Mentoring is engaging in the kind of teaching that's based on the interest and needs of that learner. Teaching is not necessarily so. You sign up for my course, that's your needs, that's it. Mentoring is, well, I know that, but really my question is about frames. If I answer your question, but that's not everybody else's question, I'm mentoring, because I'm giving examples. Mentoring is based on the interest and needs of the learner. Teaching is oftentimes not. Teaching is based on the topic you're teaching. Whether you're teaching Van Gogh about Italy or France, it's a topic. It's not you, because you're not Italy, you're not France. You see what I'm saying? You are an artist who needs to know, how do you mix that color to give to this? Well, other people have sayings. Then of course I'll do a demonstration tomorrow and we'll address that. What does it mean by Venetian red? Right? And he's, well, any other people are interested? Okay, I'll do a talk on Venetian red. That's mentoring. That's a specialized, because that's a need. You see, otherwise, here we're going to do 3-point perspective today, and tomorrow we're going to do dimensions. It's not mentoring. You're forcing things that you're imposing on the learner. And some of them is a perspective, I might read this, I don't like perspective. I want freedom of texture, you know? So mentoring is far more important than it is teaching. And I value mentoring. All my graduate students grow through mentorship. And that's why when your graduate students graduate, they'll introduce you as my mentor. Some will say, my professor. So a true professor that functions in an effective manner has to be a mentor. That doesn't mean, come to my house, I'm doing barbecue. That's something else. Okay? So mentorship is important.
I have a question. For instance, when you were there in Tuscany, you were painting there.
Right.
Do you ever take like photographs
Absolutely. You take a lot. But you don't.
to capture the moment?
You don't copy photographs. You draw information from it. If I draw you, do I copy you? I draw information, the visual phenomena, from you. I'm not copying you, I'm drawing you. You see what I'm saying? There is a difference. And people say, I take a photograph and copy the photograph. then it limits the artistic expression. I think I usually borrow artists like John Constable in the 18th century, romantic landscape painters, the international gold medalist, and also a very well-known mentor in the Royal Academy of the Arts in London in the 18th century. And he said something very well known in the history of art. He said, we artists should not make a facsimile of nature. Of course, he said it in a very British manner. You know, we should not make a facsimile of nature. Artists merely improve upon it. We don't copy nature, in essence. We improve upon it because we have our temperament, we have our emotion, we have our perspective, we have different skill set, we respond to nature. And he had a standing ovation of the Academy, very important, had a big feast, drinking a lot, and died. Very famous, very famous. And his name is John Constable. Very famous saying there. But you know, it's how you use your photograph. Don't use it as something to copy. Use it as something that informs you. A good example is I'm looking at you. I'm not copying you. I'm responding to the visual phenomena your image presents to me. Right? You never say, don't move, I'm copying you. No, don't move, I'm drawing you. I'm painting you. I think that helps answer that question. But photographs is important because people go away, photograph stays. And sunset disappears within minutes. The most beautiful time. I did a whole sunset series up in Everglades, down in Everglades, and in August, between August 15th and August 25th, the most beautiful sunset happened at 8:24, within 10 to 15 seconds. You have to be there every evening at that time, waiting for that bright sky to darken, to enrich. So, but that doesn't stay. Did I take a picture? You bet. I got my camera on the tripod, don't move, you know. I was thinking 8:23, 8:24, 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 seconds, click, 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 click. I took a lot of pictures. And then the series is 8:24 series. That's the best time. Try it in August, the most beautiful. It's also the most dangerous, hurricane season. The hurricane season, the most expressive skies, most beautiful colors. They're opposites in nature, you know, but you don't copy it for copying purposes. You use it as a reference. Sometimes you might see it as copying. People might say, oh, you copy photographs. No, I use it. You can never truly copy a photograph. You just make it look like a photograph. You resemble nature, because photograph copies nature to a certain extent. It's not true nature. Photograph is flat, and it doesn't have the texture, the techniques that you use to exaggerate, to dramatize. You know, those of you in my landscape class we just took in summer, we were showing in different parts of Florida in an exhibition.
How many commissions do you accept per year, and what's the most exciting prize you accepted for?
Huh? Which one? I'm sorry. How many commissions do I accept?
Yeah.
Within reason. Within reason. I would say 3 or 4 a year, major ones. I'm working on a couple, 6 feet by 8 feet pieces. Sometimes 37 feet by 9 feet. It's not overnight things. And what was the next question?
Which
Sounded
one?
sticky, but
Which one has been the most exciting prize you have
exciting.
received? Depends.
I don't know if the price is exciting, but
Oh, prize?
Yeah.
prize or
Yeah.
price? Cost, money.
Cost, yeah. For one of those commissions.
Depends on the size and the project, you know. Probably over $100,000. Yeah, but then it's not every day. You know. But then of course, then you can quit your hobby. Well, college teaching. No, I can't. I have 2 kids. Yeah.
You were talking before about juried shows and different things like that. My question to you is this: if, let's say, a show is no theme, so it
Okay.
accepts anyone. It doesn't matter if you're abstract or like yourself or person only does figurative painting but more realism, would that be a show you would, like someone like myself would enter? Because wouldn't that person,
Why not?
so it's okay?
So you're limited by the current work, and you don't know I was an abstract painter in the 80s, early 80s, but you didn't know that, right? So you're looking at my work I did last year, you know, but it doesn't mean the person doesn't have. Of course, you could.
Right.
Maybe not take a chance and say $50,
Well, that's
but
what I'm saying, because you were so
but
specific about
you could.
about
But
that.
in shows like that, when it's open-ended, you need to be open-minded. That's very important. If you get in, good. If you don't, you know why, because it's open-ended. And theme shows are always a little easier, because if it's a landscape show, you know you're going to put your best landscape in, right? If it's open-ended mixed media, you really never know. You can study the judge, and sometimes the jury is announced, and other times it's not. And then you never know, and then they say, oh, Tara, I studied with her, or something like that, at the Frank. I know her style, but it doesn't mean she's going to pick you because your style is closer to her style. It doesn't, I pick a lot of good abstract paintings in exhibitions, and I judge a lot of national shows. We do that. But people didn't know, looking at my work, would think, you were an abstract painter? I painted huge abstract. It was a thing to do in the early 80s. It was just a thing to do. I did. I messed up my bathtub, I still remember that. I filled it half full and poured oil paint into the bathtub and, let the turpentine flow. So how it's like smoke. And then I'll roll canvas into it, picking up the paint, and then don't try that. I did that before I was married and everything. Of course, my wife's otherwise going to kick me out. So, what did you do to that? It was completely wrong. The bathtub is completely wrong. It took me forever to clean it. Yeah.
What would be one of, or a few of the challenges that you have faced as an artist living in Florida, specifically in Florida?
Give me a minute. But Florida has a tremendous level of interest in art. There's a lot of collectors. There's a reason I stayed in Florida. Really, when I finished my study in Europe, I wanted to go to California so bad. I didn't originally plan to be in Miami, Florida, but the galleries, the collector base is so strong. And of course, well, I haven't met one yet, maybe not yet. When you meet one, you know there's a large collector base. You can check articles and all that. And I'm not talking about $20 artwork, but there are. They spend millions, basically. And then for students, selling something for 100,000, that's it. I don't have to work for 2 years, 3 years maybe. You see what I'm saying? But that doesn't come overnight. You just have to generate. But I teach that. I teach pricing. Anybody can ask me anything, what do you charge for this size? I'll tell you. It's not a secret. It's okay. You know I'm prepared, so I can tell you. What do you sell for this, for example? I'll tell you anything you ask. I have a price, I have a gallery standard, I have a collector base, and all that. You have to. This is part of your livelihood. It's a business, in other words. If it is your business, then you have turned pro. Stephen Pressfield, from resistance to turning pro. Excellent book. It's a small book. I recommend it when you have time. You're never going to put it down and pick it up. So don't read it like, Sunday night or anything. Read it so you have a couple hours to finish it. It's a small book. It's a white cover paper.
It's called Business to Pro?
It's called The War of Art.
Oh, The War of Art.
It's fantastic.
What's some resistance that you feel sometimes?
Hmm?
What's some resistance that you could feel sometimes yourself?
Face ideas, thoughts, your friends' comments. Any of those could be resistance. Come on, don't think landscapes. You're so much better in portraits. Right? And then, of course, other than cousin visiting from Georgia, I'm always using that too. But you have friends, you have things. Everything's more important than painting that you can't resist. you can never turn pro. You can turn pro because you're finding excuses because you're painting. Sorry, I can't come to the game today. I'll try next time when I'm painting. That's your date. That's your mistress. That's your lover. You and your art are companions. And one day you feel like you're not separable from your art, you turn to pro. That's what it is. And it's difficult sometimes. I have a lot of things to do, raising kids and all that, teaching, student problems and faculty problems. I'm a department chair, so that comes in the territory, and it's a huge department. And we have 675 undergraduate students. It's huge. And we have 60 plus graduate students. That's every single day. And I think my family is gone. I am still giving a lecture. Okay? Yeah, bye-bye.
I'm sorry, that was a bad angle. I might need to
This is
repeat
my
that.
boss.
Yeah.
This is my
It
boss.
was a good time.
I said to my wife, call me when the time comes. No, I didn't say that. She knows. You know, if you marry somebody for over 20 years, they know you. You know, they know you. But it's a wonderful right to be an artist, I have to say. And even though you live through the joy and pain, and sometimes more pain than joy, but when the joy kicks in, have you read Irving Stone, the writer? He wrote a book, it's called Agony and Ecstasy. You check that out, you know what I'm talking about. One is about Michelangelo, one is about Van Gogh. Lust for Life, which was turned into a movie Kirk Douglas acted perfectly in Van Gogh. And, you know, he said, yeah, it's set so perfectly. It's agony and ecstasy. It's not just fun, prettiness, you know, happy. It's ecstasy. It's not just, it's making you feel so good. You have goosebumps over yourself. That's what happiness of art, creative process gives you. So you can't just put a regular adjective over it. That's what it is. I'm living proof. Being an artist for 40 years and a little over 40 years. Of course, I'm 42. That it lives to tell you how fulfilled I feel. Even spending time dialoguing with people that have common interest is rewarding. I love it, right? I keep reminding myself, do I have the 3 Ps? Do I have the 5 Cs? Can I keep the promise? The minute I can't keep the promise, I know I can't resist, and I'm not a pro anymore. That's how I think. Thank you very much.
So, David, I think that several of you in the audience have been to these lectures before, but you know, as someone who's seen all of them, I can definitely say that in terms of really addressing what it is like to be a practicing artist and to also have a life with additional demands and needs that you are responsible for meeting. Because that's the real question, right? It's not a question of would I like to live a bohemian lifestyle with no responsibilities and no external input affecting me whatsoever. That's not realistic. You have actually addressed what it really, really means to be an artist. And I think that you've left all of us very encouraged. You know, I think that we can walk out of here believing that we can really pursue this driving passion. We can invest in it. We can develop it into something real, but we can also have families. We can also, you know, be good friends. We can also influence people positively, teach others. And I'm so grateful because you don't hear that a lot. You often hear that you have to choose art and sacrifice everything else, and there's no other way. So I think that you've really answered a lot of people's questions here through your talk, and I'm so thankful to you for that. Let's give him another round of applause.
Art is not reality. You know that. We all know that. Art, I think I'm recommending two of the books. There's another book by a Pulitzer winner, probably 8 years ago, by the name of Donna Tartt. Pulitzer winner, author. She wrote a book, it's called The Goldfinch. In that book, there's a discussion about an art dealer and a young 13-year-old boy from Manhattan. And the boy asks, what's it like in art? The old man that runs the antique store and collection said, look up. Art is not reality. So is poetry. Not reality. Poetry is not real life. But it transcends life. And it's like, you see the edge of the rainbow. You can see it. You can't. That's what art is. And it's fascinating. I always remember that. Brilliant author, Donna Tartt. The Goldfinch, covered as the Goldfinch bird. And the story happens from a scenario in Metropolitan Museum. Going to underworld, going to Europe, and all that. It's like Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, But she is a brilliant, young author. I never knew how she could get into the body and soul of a 13-year-old boy growing up in Manhattan. And she grew up in Alabama. You see? Brilliant. You see, writing is also not real.
Translating your own life.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.